In this video, we'll be going over a quick and easy way to get your hands on American companies on Wealthsimple Trade while avoiding those large exchange fees that they charge on foreign stocks. Hey guys, it's Tanner Manson from Future Investing, and today I want to talk to you guys about another Wealthsimple Trade video, this time about how to get our hands on some American stocks without getting hit with those crazy exchange fees. But as always, although I am actually a licensed financial security advisor as my full-time job, none of these stocks or topics that we talk about today are in any way my recommendation. This is merely my opinion, and you can choose to do what you wish with this information. Now, if we could, hit the like button down below, and please subscribe because we're almost at 1,000 subscribers, and that's just, that was my goal since I started, was just only 1,000 subscribers, which is so funny. Now looking at it, it seems like, it was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be, as long as you just stay consistent and do all these things. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. Thank you so much for all the support, but please, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. It really means the world to me. Now back to the video, we got a really important video here today. Traditionally on Wealthsimple Trade, if you don't already know, they charge a 1.5% charge for any purchases or sales, another 1.5% for a sale, for any, stocks or ETFs that are not traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Which, if you don't know already, very few American companies choose to actually put their stocks on our exchanges. It's very, very rare. So what do we have to do if we want to get like $1,000 worth of Palantir, for example? Well, we can still buy that on Wealthsimple Trade, but it's going to cost an additional 1.5% or $15 of that trade. But what happens if like Palantir triples within that time? Your $1,000 becomes $3,000. Well, now to sell that stock, they're going to want $45 for you to sell that position. This problem only exacerbates even more and more as your account grows and your new positions start to get bigger and bigger. It's not sustainable whenever you compare it to other brokerages that'll just charge you a flat, $5 or $10 to do that transaction, regardless of how much money you're using. And for example, what other brokerages offer is that they will have US accounts. So they'll have things like a US RRSP, a US tax-free savings account, a US open account, where you can transfer your Canadian dollars into US dollars and store them there for good until you want them back. Now that means that you will, yes, have to exchange your money over to that one account. You can never get around that, that initial exchange fee. But once it's over to American dollars, you can buy and sell as much stock as you'd like without ever getting another exchange fee until you completely want to move money out of that account. Wealthsimple Trade does not offer this as an option. They only have Canadian accounts right now, so you continuously have to exchange your money back and forth and back and forth. It's it gets very, very harsh the longer you use their platform. That being said, if US accounts are created on Wealthsimple Trade, then this problem completely goes away. But until that time, we have to find some loopholes, and that's exactly why I created this video today. See, a lot of fund companies like Vanguard, BlackRock, and TD, they have Canadian ETFs that are traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange and everything in Canadian dollars, but yet they only have exclusively American companies on their balance sheets. Take the S&P 500, for example. It might be the most famous, world-renowned, most respected index fund that there is on the entire stock market. This is the Standard & Poor's top 500 companies that they track in America, and they gather them all up into one specific fund that tracks, the sort of economy that the American market might be going. Now, there's a fund called the SPY, the SPY, and it's an American ETF that tracks these 500 companies. It's the most popular ETF in the entire world, holding trillions of dollars. That being said, if you wanted this ETF on your Wealthsimple Trade account, you would get hit with a 1.5% buy and a 1.5% sell for every single time that you transact this ETF. But there are actually alternatives that track the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, two different, very famous American markets that, will get past those exchange fees because they're traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange. For example, the iShares Core S&P 500 ETF, or XUS as a ticker symbol. I even have one for Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, ticker symbol VFV. Both of these indexes have amazingly high, 5-year returns that completely beat out the Toronto Stock Exchanges. And this is why you might want to hold American stocks over Canadian, because actually Canadian, although I am a very prideful person, at the end of the day, the returns are what I'm most focused on. Like I'm not, an emotional investor. I want whatever returns the highest for me. So in the last 20 years or so, if the Toronto Stock Exchange has been underperforming, the American markets, it's usually not where I like to tend to put my money. I like the American markets a lot more. They return me a higher amount to my overall account. Just as a good example, take the iShares Toronto Stock Exchange Top 60 Index. Okay, in a 5-year returns, they do about 51% in the last 5 years. But yet, take the same iShares S&P 500 index, tracking the American version, and you get a return of close to 97%. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. Let's continue. So for example, there's also the NASDAQ, which also tracks, a lot of American companies, but I find it's more on the risky side. A lot of healthcare companies, a lot of technology companies, a lot of very futuristic companies. I think they usually tend to take the higher risk companies than the S&P 500 does, which with that usually tends to, give higher returns. And I'll show you two different ETFs that are also trading on, the Toronto Stock Exchange. You can also buy them on Wealthsimple Trade. We have the XQQ and the HXQ, both returning over 212% in the last 5 years. Absolutely incredible. It's unbelievable. But alternatively, you don't have to completely buy, the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ. You'll never get individual stocks like Tesla or Nvidia or Apple or something like this. I mean, it's not perfect that way, but you can buy ETFs that are on the Toronto Stock Exchange that follow certain sectors or objectives. For example, ticker symbol TEC, which is TD's Global Technology Leaders ETF, which tracks a large amount of the American technology companies that we all know and love. It might be more suited if you're looking for those high-risk companies, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. It can be some for EV vehicles or even just lithium batteries or anything like this. They have tons of just different sectors and everything. You can get very specific with what ETF you want to invest in. And by the way, TEC is pretty new as an ETF, but that being said, in just 2 years of returns that we have, it's returned over 76% just within those 2 years, beating out both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. Anyways, this strategy is perfect if you like the exposure to the American markets, but you don't want to have to pay those, sometimes crazy exchange fees if you start playing with bigger and bigger money. It just doesn't make sense. ETFs do have MERs on them, which are their management expense ratios. It's a cut that they take from your profits. But regardless, it's not even close to being comparable to these exchange fees because they are much, much smaller, a fraction of what those exchange fees will cost you. Anyways, guys, that's it for today's video. If you liked it, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe down below if you want to see more content like this. I've got much more content coming out about ETFs and Wealthsimple Trade. Maybe I'll do some more videos about other brokerages, but right now, Wealthsimple Trade just has me. I love the $0 commission trades, and it's just, it makes it awesome to trade stocks, and I can buy a little bit each day. It's almost more fun to buy in that way. Anyways, that's enough for today. I do appreciate you watching. Until next time, stay safe trading, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.